Hi guys, this is Mrs. Fanton. Today we're going to go over inferences. It's basically the educated guessing game that we do all the time in life, when we read, when we watch movies. We're constantly making inferences. Inferences are when, you might be reading a book and you're trying to guess what's going to happen next. Or you might infer from the clues a hidden meaning. Or maybe sometimes the author will give you like little clues or hints at something and expect you to know or infer from those clues another part of the story. So we're going to talk about that right now. All right, so what's an inference? It's just an assumption that you make after something that you see, read, or experience. It's based on all the information that you have available to you at the time. It's not necessarily a correct guess, but it's an educated one. So to make an inference, you don't have to be correct. Hopefully you are, but you're using all the facts that you know to make that guess. All right, here are some inferences that you probably make on a daily basis. If your professor or your teacher writes information on the board before a lecture, you infer that that information is important and you're probably going to need it later. If your son or daughter, your child, your brother, your sister runs in the house holding their knee and crying, you're going to infer that they have somehow hurt their knee, right? They're holding it and they're crying. You're like, oh, something's wrong with their knee. That's an inference that you just made. You might not always be correct in your inferences, but they are assumptions that you make based on the given clues. So let's take a guess. You already know how to make everyday inferences, right? Let's look at a few scenarios and infer about what's going on. All right, so you see that lady there. What is she doing? Where do you think this woman is? Is she there for work or is she there for pleasure? So what would be your guess? For me personally, I would guess that she's in a hotel room and that she's there for work because of the printer or the little fax machine she has there. Let's look a bit closer and evaluate your guess. What is she doing? Hopefully you said she's on the telephone, right? All right, based on the furniture and decorations, she's probably in a hotel room. And based on her clothing and the presence of a fax machine, she's probably there for work, right? Let's take another guess. This says, mine to market in 3,000 days. We've repeatedly squashed this idea for almost 10 years, but now that our competitor is launching it, let's drop everything else and ship in July. All right, so where are they? And who is the man standing in the front of the room? Is this company on the cutting edge? What would you say? All right, let's look a bit closer and evaluate your assumptions. Where are they? The table and topic reveal that they're in a corporate boardroom, right? Some kind of meeting. Who is the man standing in the front of the room? Because he is in the front of the room and standing, we would infer or guess that he's the boss. Is this company on the cutting edge? We can infer by his dialogue that they are kind of behind the competition. Let's try one more. Oh, she's so cute. All right, what season is it in this picture? What is the person doing? And three, what socioeconomic group does she belong to? So would you say that this is a little girl that's poor, that's middle class, or that's rich? So we're going to look a bit closer and evaluate those assumptions. First, what season is in this picture? The Santa hat and the ornament reveal that it's obviously winter, right? Sometime around Christmas. The second question was, what is this person doing? Well, if you look closely, she has an ornament in her hand, right? So that ornament most likely would tell us that she is decorating her tree. And then the third question was, what socioeconomic group does she belong to? Is she rich, poor, or middle class? Because of our clothing and the pretty ornament, we could probably guess that she's not necessarily super poor. But to make any more guesses from that, it's kind of hard. I don't know that we could make that inference now. All right, let's look at word pictures. Just like we looked at the previous pictures, we can also infer things using just words. When we read a text, we can think of it as a word picture. So there's a picture. When reading, there are several types of word pictures the author will paint for you. It will be your job to use those pictures to infer things such as the setting, a character's personality or emotions, what a character's motives might be, what the writer's motives behind writing the piece might be. And those are just a few. There's even more. Here's the selection. The air blowing off of the water is clean and crisp. As she slowly made her way to her destination, the damp sand beneath her feet began to stick to the bottom of her toes. Finally, she was close enough to see. A blue and white tablecloth spread over the sand. Candles, crystal, and china glistened in the light of the setting sun. She smiled, and a tear ran down her cheek. So where is this woman? What time of day is it? As she approaches, what does she see? And will she be spending the evening alone? So those are 4 questions that we might ask after reading this, even though none of them were explicitly or specifically stated. By reading this and looking for clues, we could probably answer each of these questions. So where is this woman? Based on the word picture painted for us, she's on the beach, right? Because we see here that it says water and sand. What time of day is it? It's obviously evening because they make a comment about the setting sun. As she approaches, what does she see? That someone has prepared a romantic picnic for her, right? Because they talk about the tablecloth, candles, crystal, and china. And then the last question, will she be spending the evening alone? We can logically assume that whomever has made the picnic will probably join her. We can assume that. So again, we're making an educated guess, but we might be wrong. So here in this word picture, we're going to be looking at the characters' personalities and emotions. If the character is shown refusing to be controlled by others, such as their parents, their boss, or some other authority figure, we can infer or guess that they're kind of rebellious. If the character storms out of the room, slamming the door behind them, we can infer or guess that that person's angry. If we see the character doing really good things in front of others, but exhibiting really negative traits when alone, we can infer that they're kind of deceptive or sneaky. All right, let's keep all these things in mind and let's look at the excerpt we read earlier. So how does the woman feel about what this person has done? They don't say, but can we guess from what we read? Well, based on her smile and tears, we can assume she's happy and touched by the gesture. Because she said there she smiled and a tear ran down her cheek, right? Though we have not been introduced to the person that has planned this, what can we assume about their personality? We can assume that he is caring, romantic, and thoughtful, though this may or may not prove to be correct by the end of the story. That is the word picture the author's painting for us right now. Let's add a few lines to that excerpt. Charles had been planning this night for weeks. He had waited for a night with clear skies and a soft breeze. He had laid out the tablecloth, placed the glasses and plates just right. For a few seconds he wondered if she had found the note that he had left her. But soon he could see her, slowly walking down the beach. As she approached, he took a deep breath, kneeled down on one knee, and pulled a small box from his pocket. So why did he leave her a note? Can you make an inference about that? We can infer that he left her a note to tell her to meet him on the beach. Why has Charles made this picnic for her? To propose to her. Again, another inference. So let's pick the writer's motives. All people have their own moral and political perspectives. Sometimes these perspectives color what an author writes. This can take place in both fiction and nonfiction pieces. So read the following excerpt and try to determine what this writer's motive for writing this might be. At the close of the year 1999, composting and recycling had stopped 64 million tons of material from ending up in landfills and incinerators. Though that is a good start, America has a long way to go. As a country, it is our responsibility to protect the environment for the sake of future generations. Let's ask ourselves a few questions about this. First of all, do you think this is a fiction or nonfiction piece? I always think of fiction as fake because they both have the F's at the beginning, so that's how I always keep them straight. What motives does this writer have for writing this piece, and how do we know that we are getting colored information? So this is a nonfiction piece, it's not fake. This writer is an environmentalist. Because we are only given one-sided statistics by the use of his words, we know that this is very one-sided. Let's take a guess, part 2. Now that you know how to use what the text does say to figure out things that it does not, let's look at a few excerpts to practice your new skills. Write your answers down as you go. We're going to do one as a group, and then the second one you're going to answer on your on the website for your points. Read the following poem and answer the questions that follows. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. This is A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. All right, here's some questions. Infer what the writer's motive is. Is she A, she is trying to frighten her audience into appropriate behavior? B, she is a child activist? Or C, her motive is to inspire her reader? Which one do you think it is? Hopefully, you chose C, to motivate and inspire her readers. Number 2, with which statement would the author most agree? A, all men and women are treated equal. B, life is not fair. Or C, The only thing to fear is fear itself. I would say C. The only thing to fear is fear itself, because she says, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So she talks about not being afraid. All right, this one I'm not going to give you the answers. You're going to answer it on our website. Jeffrey awoke early that morning for fear of being left for his appointment. He showered, brushed his hair, and put on his best suit. He stuck extra ink pens and pencils into his briefcase. He did not want to leave anything to chance. He knew that if he did not get a job soon, Martha would have to leave the children and go back to work. All right, number one, what kind of appointment is Jeffrey getting ready for? Is it A, he is going job hunting, B, he's going to a board meeting for his job, or C, he is going to a job interview? Number two, who is Martha? Is it A, his mother, B, his wife, or C, his daughter? And number three, which of these personality traits best describes Jeffrey? A, responsible, B, optimistic, or C, selfish? Last question. What is Jeffrey's motive for waking up early? A, to be an example for his children, B, to be on time for his appointment, or C, he does not want Martha to go back to work? Okay, guys, so you should answer those 4 questions on our webpage, and then you're done with this asynchronous session. I hope it went well for you and you learned a little bit and you realize that you make inferences all the time and you start noticing that you're doing it when you're reading too. So have a great day and I'll talk to you soon.